All right. As the title said, it's going to be chapter 4 here. And above my head is kind of the description of what I'm going to do here. There are hidden formats in the Bible, and I call them the first writer's formats, because that's what they seem to be when I clean them up. You can make them very personal as well. This is what, in chapter 3 that I just done, there was a lot of text that came out of that. What I mean by a 3-verse format that I'm showing here is this is going to be a statement. The next two are going to connect together, but they're going to make us finish the statement or refer to what the statement is about. And then it's going to repeat, and then these two will make like a large paragraph, meaning this is like a paragraph, this is a paragraph, even though these are known as Psalms. In Jeremiah, if you search the word columns in just Jeremiah, you will find that they wrote in columns because there was a king that after the scribe read 3 or 4 columns, he took it and threw it into the fireplace, the scroll, threw it in the fireplace. So that's what you're seeing here is a column. And this is what happened in chapter 3. I ended up having a lot of parts, but or different parts mean different pieces from different things. As you can see, I have a 3-verse here, but I have a 4-verse here. So soon, I hope later today, maybe tomorrow morning, what's down here in the list saying that there's going to be PDFs to look at that I've already done, because I'm taking these pieces and I'm combining them to make one story. Right now I have Jeremiah, I have Daniel. Jeremiah speaks about the ending of Judah going into captivity. Daniel, as you know, they're in Babylon, and then there's text that speaks about the returning from Ezra, Zephaniah, and a few other prophets. So what I'm doing is I'm working backwards in the text because it's easier for me to understand what at this time what is already true according to the formats, and then going back and looking like in part 4 here as to making sure that the text, I don't come up with things that are not going to appear. Example, we know Jesus from the Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John, and some of the text that's being referred to now in Isaiah has a lot to do about Jesus. At that time, they called him Yah. Okay, and that was from David's time on. Now, I haven't made that video yet to show that, but there are many verses that point out that the Hebrew word YHVH was being used as his name. I'm hoping to make that very soon. Now, when I'm starting these, I don't know if they're a 3-verse or a 4-verse. So, and I can see that it's not taken as a prophecy that our Creator is speaking right off the bat. So when I go back up here and I look, it's just talking about what is going to happen in the day for this time, that the women who dress up and walk around, they aren't going to make it. They're going to be taken into captivity. And instead of their beautification or beautifying themselves, and the males are going to die by the sword or arrows. So when I have text like that, I know that we're talking about Syria coming down, because Isaiah is a king, or is in these two kings' timeline. Now, we don't know when the Isaiah, at what age, became a prophet. But when you look at this accuracy of these numbers here, they are very, very accurate. It took me a long time to do this. This comes from our Creator's Hidden Formats, and I'll be going over them after I finish doing this text for the final time. I've done it 2 or 3 times, but I just seem to get better and better, that I think this is going to be the last time I do these. And you're going to see that Pekah is going to be the king over here when Assyria comes down and takes part of it. We had text of this area here as being mentioned in a prophecy, when they're going to walk around looking for somebody to be king, and then they find him to be a king. So let me see here. If I pull up the text that I just had here, oops. I'm looking for that right now just to show you that it's there. Okay, maybe I'd done it earlier than I thought here. I have to go back farther. But that prophecy was told up here at some time. I guess I can't find it at the moment, but it was talking about the king. They're searching for him. Okay, so that does mean that, why I wanted to point that out in the text is because it specifically speaks to the time that the writing has to take place. And then actually we only have Isaiah's name mentioned at the very beginning, and we haven't had it a second time. Now if I go over here to what I have as a concordance, this is going to be chapter 4. So if I set up chapter 4 here first before I get carried away, and then bookmark it. And then if I actually come back to chapter 1 and click OK, and if this program allows me to do a quick word search. So if I come over here and I hit that, you can see we've got Isaiah a lot in Kings. Now these are supposed to be the books of the Kings, and he would be in them, so that's not bad. Chronicles, I don't know what Chronicles, I can't really describe how truthful Chronicles is as to, is it a continuation of Kings? Okay, because there's not really a chronological order. Now, if you notice here, this is Isaiah 1, and then he doesn't show up until chapter 2, and then all of a sudden chapter 3 or 7. So we're going to have his name missing. And when that happens, that means that text has to be related to that king, that might be, has to really give us evidence within the text to speak about the time or where this text goes, whether it's Isaiah or another prophet. When I done Jeremiah, I found text from 3 other prophets. Okay, and one of them was Isaiah, just one piece. Because the way it's worded, that it was talking about Assyria at that time and not Babylon coming down and taken away. So when that was mentioned, I knew it was way out of order. Example, this is about what, 100 years later, maybe 100 and a few years later, that one kingdom leaves first, sent away, before the last kingdom, and that is our nation of Judah. Nation of Israel has already left, but it's going to be 100 years later. I try to keep all this in mind as I'm going through the text. Now, when I'm going through this, I'm going to be editing the text. So I'm going to be giving my reasons why I do this type of editing, where red will mean that I'm adding text with a hash mark here, that I'm changing one word to another word, or adding text on the end, or when I put it in gray text, it means I need it to fulfill the statement. Killed by sword and arrows and die in battle. Now, the formats that I put up here, let me go down here. Yeah, this is a good spot because I have a 4-verse and a 3-verse here. Now, what happens in the format? I find 1 or 2 major words and then put them together with the least amount of words, okay? This is a note to myself that I don't know if it's a good nation or a bad nation right now. But you can see that this is what happens to be able to get the 3-verse. These 2 words must exist, okay? So that is that format, and a 4-verse is the same thing, only there's going to be 4 verses to the text. And you'll see that what they do is they have a comma here and a period here to make it a sentence. It's a continuation. Now the text appears itself. I don't try to make these, force them, unless it really is text that's needed to continue the story, or that I know it's a prophecy, or it's been said, or has like words other places in this text that I'm doing. Because what happens is I end up with pieces, and then sometimes I can move pieces around and it'll read like it's right in order. A lot of times I'll go from 3-verse to 4-verse back to 3-verse, and take out the 4-verse and you can't tell, it reads right straight through. Okay. Now to start Isaiah chapter 4. For 7 women will take hold of 1 male that day. This is a secular word, and now I've corrected it to the truth. So what I'll do is I'll say I changed that like that. Now, in that day means that it's our Creator's day. That's some event that's going to be very important. And because they're describing a male as 1 male and not using it as a word that I should have spelled out as 1, I can put the word or the number 1 in here. Now, what I had up here is them being taken captives, the women. It was daughter, but women, because men are mentioned later, and I haven't found the rest of that, or males are starting to be mentioned. So the thing here is I have to go up here and look, and his people are going to be led astray. So this is a prophecy about the future when Jesus is around, and I honor Jesus by using red text. Okay, and the remnant will ask from their brothers to be our ruler. This is after they're taken into captivity or they're gone, the land is empty. This is what I was trying to find in the other text. So this text right here seems to want to connect with what I'm trying to edit now. Okay, this is where the remnant is left around, and they're saying there's going to be 7 women. Now the thing here, when they're taking captives to become workers in their kingdom, they only leave behind the weak, the elder, sick, that can't make it 500 miles, and then they'll assign a overseer over them. But this seems to say that there's a bunch of women that are going to be around, and that can't be true. If I'm relating it to that story, okay? So, but it seems that it wants to relate to it on that day and in those days. See, that seems to be a 4 or 3 verse and a 3 verse. Only let us be called. So we are called by your name to take away our reproach. Now that isn't. These two might be. I can't say that this is actually the answer to this question here, whether this connects, because you can see 7 women. Well, and I'm going to say that's going to be approach. Approach. And I'm going to add that, get rid of that, get rid of this, because what I'm going to say is I'm going to keep the word 1 here, and then it's going to be a comma, male that day, in those days. This is going to have to be an S. So it seems that I can't use the word 1 or approach. To get rid of the 1, I can put the letter A and then say get rid of this. Because I'm using this as a major word, is what I'm going to do. Change it from this. But because I'm doing that, I'll make it gray in those days. Okay. So now I have the true statement, or approach a male in those days, period. That's a 3 verse format. I don't know if the word saying is right. Saying we will eat our own bread and wear our own clothes. Meaning not at his table, but to be guided under him, to at least have a home to stay in. Males own the property. Women would not have the property. They could, if they're widows, yes. So these women would have to be unmarried women. But this is saying this is a 4 verse format. this is a continuing here to here. And where our own, so I don't need this because we know what that means. We'll wear our own. To be called by your name. To be not called your name, by your name, but as sisters or family. There's a lot of explaining that has to be done in this to be accurate, because I don't think I can replace the word called. It's just not coming to my head here. Okay. But that would be the end of that. And then now it's becoming the next group of word. And I don't know what it means by reproach. The good Israelis honored their neighbors and are to help them out. So, like the orphan was supposed to be brought into your house and live under your roof. The widows could live on their descendants or their husband's land until they passed away if they didn't have a son. They only had women, they could work the land to live, but after that, they got to be married off or remain single to live on the land. This is not making sense. I don't know where it's going to go either. Now, as you can see, that I'm going to have to say that this text is divided, and I'm not sure if this is actually this and this is gone. Because if I remove this, these you can see become the two verses better than those. In this, not take away, it would remove. Now, I don't like the word reproach. So if I go over here to my concordance, and I now got to get back to Isaiah 7 here. Okay. Where's take away reproach. Disgrace. The taunting. I would say taunting is better, to remove our taunting. So I'm going to use the word taunting because it's not, they aren't being shamed. They aren't to do this. They're seeking the mercy, as our Creator said, for others to have mercy on others. So they're probably getting taunted. So removing our taunting. So it might be women who are not married is now what I'm seeing here. And when it says they'll eat their own bread, means they got land that they can work. Okay. I really try to make sense of the editings, because a lot of times when I get down this far, there'll be something up here that I have to recorrect by the text telling me what's going on. Just like right now, I got rid of this verse here. To be called by your name, and this here is not our creator. So now I get to remove this. I've been looking at it. I should have done that a while ago. Remove our taunting, because it's not a shame to remain single. It's not a disgrace. It's not a shame. It's not a no. But I can see people taunting as they don't have a male to help them out. So, okay, now what I've got here, though, is I've got a 4 verse and a 3 verse, and that's not good either. Okay? But now what it's telling me here is that if it's a 4 verse, I got to have a verse missing here now. And that's what I'm going to do, is I'm going to put it in as a missing verse. Okay. Now, here, okay. Now here we're starting to say if it's a branch, this is a weak way to say that it's our Savior, Jesus. In the day of Jesus, in the day of the branch from YV, will be beautiful and glorious. We know that's wrong. The fruit of the earth, no. Not for adornment, no. From the survivors, no, that's more true. Now this is relating to after they've gone. So this is speaking to Judah's time. So we're now in the other column under the nation Judah, and now they're foretelling the survivors that are going to return, or on the land and then return, because actually in Daniel I found text that says, and I usually put that on the front thumb, so if it starts out, you click on it, you can read there that the prophecy of Jesus coming is through Daniel's sons. So the survivors, now when I'm using the word Israel here, that usually speaks to the male Israel, and that isn't what it's sounding. But it also isn't sounding like the nation Israel. I mean, as one great big long, everybody that's been taken captive. Or maybe it does. Or from the survivors from Israelis. Maybe it's just that group is this way. I'm going to put it like this. Usually when I put them together later, there's going to be more editing, and it might, the text where it goes will tell me or give me more clues here. And branch, this word has to be Savior. It has to be not it has to be our Savior. From YV. Now you can see that how I go down, I'll fix something, and then it makes sense. From the survivors, from Israelis. Now here is the way it's got to be divided. I'm going to put an S here. And I'm going to claim it as our Creator's cause for these days. And this, in the days now this has got to be like in the days after, because we know that from history. So in the days after, so I'm going to have to use the word after. Our Savior from YV from. Oh, this is not good because I'm forcing too much. I can add text to say what's missing if it is saying, in other words, if I've got this part true and it looks like I have, in the days after, because what I'm seeing is this and this, but I have to come up with another verse because the days after our Savior for after they were gathered he is coming. So this would be and I think that's how it would read. So I'm going to put all this in gray and say I added all this. Oh, yep. Because if I don't know it like that, well, I will know later. But that's what that statement is saying, but it's in a 4-verse grouping. But I don't think it's going to be tied to this. Because Jesus doesn't come for, I think, about 200 years, something like that, maybe 300 years. So, because when they returned, it went from Babylon to Persia. And then And then if we get right to Romans, that's 3, and we know David has 4. So it might be, the text might say one king from Babylon, the next king from Babylon. That kingdom will be a little bit lesser, but it's, and then the next 2 kingdoms. So this is kind of garbly gook here. Because then I'm seeing it, I can't connect these words with these words. Now that's the problem with me editing them too much. But I have to say that this group is not connecting with this. I'm about would be okay, I guess. It's 2 words. But I actually need it to this. This will come, or this will happen, come about, ends up being happen. And because it sounds like prophecy, this has to be added as a major word. This will happen who is in Jerusalem. Remains in Jerusalem. That doesn't, no, that's wrong. Who is in Jerusalem. I guess I can't really use any of this. I'm trying to figure out how I can use words. This will happen who remains in Jerusalem. They aren't going to be called holy because you can't call the priests who are corrupt that, how shall I say this, had Jesus crucified. And so I'm going to say that I added things that I shouldn't have and just said I should have threw it out. Okay. Survivors from Israel. He's not going to wash away. He's sending them away with filth of the daughter of Zion, purge of bloodshed. This is oversalted by the spirit of judgment and the spirit of burning. No, thank you. That's oversalted. Notice a female deity put over on the city Jerusalem now. I don't see any of this actually working. Then YV will rate over the whole area. of Jerusalem, and over the assembly, the cloud day, even smoke and brightness of a flame by the... No, he's not going to repeat the same thing as he led him out from the land of Egypt. There'll be a shelter and shade from the heat of the day. No, this is not true. And I didn't know this was so short. But I guess I have to end it there, but I might have gotten text. I don't know. This is really strange. I didn't know that it was going to be such a quick chapter. It rarely happens that they're this short, because I know that usually my videos are at least 2 hours long. But since I'm trying to make a video for each paragraph or each chapter, I better stick to that thought process and say, let me just clean this up. This will be part 2. Yeah, this is not looking good for this group here. It looks like it should have been the whole thing thrown out. But if it happens that way, it'll happen that way. So this is going to be 5, and I'm going to end the video here. But that was rather short, but that's how I find these formats, and this has been pieced together by them. So it seems like from when you start seeing pieces like this, when they were trying to construct the text that they wanted, they were taking this and these words that would have been familiar to the people at that time, for when they would have read the book in front of the people, they've now rewrote it for themselves. And but these words would pop up and everybody would say, yeah, I remember that. Or the elders there would say, well, I remember that being said. I don't remember the others, but I remember that. And then they'd stick their words to add things together. So what you're seeing here by me going through here, you can see that they added all this for their own God. So I think I'll do another video here within an hour, but I gotta call this one quit here for the day. And I forgot to do a lot here on this one. Setting everything up. But anyways, that'll be the end for chapter